Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we still have a thunderstorm warning issued through the rest of this evening, expiring through the early hours of Wednesday, so we are going to continue to see some really hefty showers heading up from the south. We'll look at that in detail on the latest UKV, going through the next 5 days, looking at the temperature and precipitation as this low pressure system clears over the next 24 hours or so. We are going to be turning a lot colder indeed, with northerly winds plunging in from the Arctic, the coldest air mass we've seen all autumn. Now, fortunately, it's not going to last too long, maybe 2 or 3 days, for by the weekend, start of next week, we do go westerly once again. The only positive, though, we're seeing, though, in that longer term is, yes, turning unsettled, but it should be generally milder air masses, as it does look like we'll have a southwesterly tilt to our wind direction, which means, yes, rain, wind is looking likely, especially in the north and the west, but we are likely to see quite a few warmer sectors moving through, so at times we see dry conditions, it will be fairly mild. We will have a look at that and set it in more detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. If we start on the live radar, recording this around 8 PM on Tuesday evening, you can see it's very unsettled across northern and western Europe. Now, we are under a big area of lower pressure. But within that big area of low pressure, we've got a few other features. Now, we've got one feature that's across England and Wales at the moment, which is a smaller area of low pressure, pretty intense, but it is pepping up all of these heavy thundery showers. And as I thought yesterday, we have seen lots of thunderstorms today. I did state in yesterday's video, I thought it was quite a high chance we saw a yellow thunderstorm warning issued for today, and we did in the end. Again, a little bit frustrating, it wasn't issued yesterday, as again, issuing it a couple of hours before it comes into force doesn't really give people much time to change plans or adapt. As you can see, it is really quite wild out there at the moment, and the warning is still in force until 3 AM in the morning. We'll look at that in more detail in a second though, but I did want to just point further southwards, because I know a lot of the videos we've been posting over the past week or so have referred to Hurricane Kirk, or ex-Hurricane Kirk, which has been heading throughout the North Atlantic. It was a very strong hurricane out in the mid-Atlantic a few days ago, now is extratropical, so it is no longer got tropical characteristics, and it is now more of a generic low pressure system, but with all that warm air remnants, it's a very strong area of low pressure, and it's here just off radar heading into the Bay of Biscay. You can see its track has only just missed us, and the main impacts will be through central and northern France. So if you are wondering where has ex-Hurricane Kirk gone, this is it here, moving slowly eastwards and slightly northwards, eventually dissipating over central Europe. So we're not too far away. Luckily, we're missing the most severe impacts, but we're still seeing lots of hefty thundery showers associated with the larger area of low pressure that is sat across northern Europe. Now, you can see lots of very bright colours, yellows, oranges and reds under these showers, indicating their thundery nature. It was slightly heavier and more thundery earlier, but we're still seeing quite a few hefty showers around this evening, and you can see they're banding up into larger areas of rain, which doesn't help the saturated ground, because they're not just dumping of rain in 10 minutes clearing through, they are quite persistent, and if you end up in one of these lines of showers and storms, it'd be raining for a good couple of hours non-stop. Also to our south, we're starting to see some more thunderstorms developing across the Channel, and these will slowly head northwards and eastwards, so southeast England could be in the firing line for further thunderstorms in the next few hours, all the way to the early hours of Wednesday. Further north, it's got a bit more persistent rain, but not as much in terms of thundery. And for western Scotland, there you can see it is drier and not too bad, and for much of the Republic of Ireland and parts of Wales. So the areas that are normally most unsettled through autumn are actually the driest at the moment. Now, if you put on the temperatures, with the southwesterly wind at the moment, it's actually pretty mild, and you can see getting dragged up within ex-Hurricane Kirk, we do have some very warm air as well, and again, that is aiding this generally mild feeling conditions we have at the moment. It's perfectly acceptable out there between the showers to be out in only 1 or 2 layers. It's really not too bad at all changing though in the next 24 hours, with northerly winds returning from the north. If you look at the weather warnings, you can see we got this thunderstorm warning issued for eastern and southern England, and it does expire as we head into the morning, 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And as for heavy showers and thunderstorms slowly moving northwards and eastwards with local disruption. You can see, as I said, it was put into force earlier this morning and it was updated through around 2 p.m. this afternoon, increasing the matrix to very low of medium impacts and extending expiry time into the early hours of Wednesday morning. So the warning was actually updated throughout the day. Just again, frustrating, wasn't put in force yesterday. So when everyone looks at the weather the night before they've got any activities, there was no warning. It was only the morning of when we saw this warning get put into force. If we look at the further details, you see showers and thunderstorms will move northwards and eastwards across southern Britain throughout the afternoon and well into the evening before gradually clearing from the west. 20-30 millimetres within 2 to 3 hours, 40 to 50 millimetres over a longer period of time. Hail, lightning and gusty winds as well are additional hazards. And again, it's a generic thunderstorm warning. You know, we see these multiple times a year, these sort of outbreaks, and it really is quite a large outbreak of very heavy rain at the moment, as we saw from the live radar. Lots of activity going on. It does look like mainly now just rain, but still could be the isolated thunderstorm out there over the course of the rest of the evening. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see all those heavy thunder showers slowly clearing out to our east through the early mornings of Wednesday, but still some lingering across northern England, some more persistent rain there through the early hours of Wednesday. As we head into Wednesday afternoon, still some showers around, but much drier, and that northerly wind is starting to push in. You can see even a bit of snow there for Scotland. As we slowly progress into Thursday, it'll be turning much colder for all, and of course with the northerly wind being much drier and colder, it does mean that we see a bit more sunshine and less showers inland with those lower dew points and that just generally drier air. As we head through much of Thursday, really quite pleasant day, just feeling very cold, and the same can be said for Friday. A bit more rain for Scotland as we start to see a transition again to something slightly milder, but still much colder further southwards, and again could be really quite cold conditions there into Saturday. Now by Saturday you can start to see the wind direction starting to shift, a bit of snow there over the highlands of Scotland as we see the air masses shift. Again, that will become more of a feature over the coming weeks as we see cold air interacting with more of these Atlantic systems. But not expecting anything too much, but just more of a transition to more of a westerly flow by Saturday into Sunday, but still likely to remain chilly with colder air masses towards the surface, and eventually by Sunday more cloud building in, and that's typical of a southwesterly flow with much muggier, milder air starting to push in. And we can see that on the upper air temperatures. See very cold through much of Thursday into Friday, but eventually as we head into Sunday, look at that much bigger, milder wedge pushing in, and as I said, it will turn things a lot muggier but more unsettled into next working week. Now, if you look at the temperatures as we head into Wednesday, temperatures still 16-17 in the far southeast, but much colder in the north, mid to high single digits at best. As we move into Thursday, with many northern areas getting towards freezing or hovering just above freezing, a really cold night. Further southwards, single digits, feeling much colder, but because the cold air is only just arriving, it's not going to be too cold into Thursday morning. Throughout Thursday, though, hardly getting much above the single digits for many northern areas and feeling a lot colder than that, of course. Further southwards, maybe 12 or 13, which is pretty poor. A good 5 or 6 degrees down on today in some regions. And again, that doesn't even factor in the feel-like temperature out there. As we progress into Friday, potentially quite a widespread frost. Again, all depend on clearer skies, but lots of lighter blues there, indicating temperatures towards the low single digits or touching freezing. And by Friday afternoon, again, many areas struggling around 10 to 12 degrees, feeling very cold indeed. Into Saturday, again, a frost potentially, even for parts of southern England and Wales there, as we do see cold, clear nights. And then as we head into Saturday, temperatures will slowly nudge up as we start to see a westerly flow pushing in, maybe 13 or 14. And by Sunday, starting to transition milder as well. Still cold in the morning, but potentially getting up maybe towards the low teens, maybe even mid-teens there by the afternoon. Now, if you have a look at the longer range now and start on the latest GFS, you can see at the moment we've got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, and you see Kirk is now clearing to our south. Eventually, northerly winds arrive through much of Wednesday evening into Thursday, and it turns very cold for a time being. Beyond that though, we start to see more westerly flow pushing in, but as we head into the middle of next week, we actually see a bit of a Scandinavian high developing. Now, it's not a cold Scandinavian high, it's not far enough northwards, and there's not any cold air masses across Europe, but what it will do is drive mild, warm, or even humid air in off the near continent. And because that air is originating from the Mediterranean, it could be accompanied by quite a lot of rain. If this was slightly further westwards, with that air coming more from a southeasterly or easterly direction, we'd expect it to be a drier air mass, so we could actually be pretty warm and dry. But this sort of scenario could be very warm, but likely to see cloud, likely to see rain as we head into that longer term. Still low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, so the wind direction generally stays in that south to southwesterly direction, and that's why I said it does look like we will still see lots of rain in the north and west, but with this southwesterly tilt, it will be pretty warm and mild, and even in the east and southeast, we might not actually see all too much rain, as we do start to see generally much more positive conditions with higher pressure. But you see weather fronts trying to push into the north and the west, keeping things unsettled. And if you put on the accumulated precipitation, you can see there will be quite a lot of rain coming up over the next couple of weeks, but it could change, hopefully in the longer term, something a bit drier if that high pressure system does build in. Now we've got similar indications from the latest GEM. Again, low pressure coming in off the Atlantic at the moment, northerly winds pushing in as we head through the end of the week. Into next week, again, that southwesterly pattern, high pressure trying to hold on to our east, low pressure out to our west, and it's a bit of a battle. And all the way to day 10, it's a very strong southwesterly wind. But, as I said, it's containing some very warm air for the time of year, around 8 to 10 degrees above average. If we do zoom in, I wouldn't be surprised to see temperatures, look at that, high teens, maybe just about touching 20 degrees. Now, I have said in previous videos, I highly doubt we'll get to 20 degrees once again this autumn, but this is showing you there is a glimpse, there's a hope that we could just about nudge it if we see the exact right synoptics of far-fetched southwesterly winds seeing upper air temperatures around 5 to 10 degrees above average. Now, to finish for the longer range runs by having a look at the latest ECMWF, you can see again northerly winds starting to push in over the coming hours, and eventually we see westerly winds arriving into next week. But similar to the GFS, we've got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, high pressure to our east, and it's a pretty far-fetched southwesterly wind. Again, not quite as much of warm air within it, as because we have more of a westerly tilt to that wind, not as much of a southerly tilt, so we've got slightly cooler air feeding into that air mass as well. But it is still above average, and it is still much more pleasant than a northwesterly or a northerly wind. Because we are more under low pressure though, we probably will see more cloud, more rain, and more showers, unfortunately. And finish by looking at the latest ensemble, we see the up and down conditions at the moment turning much colder, but also much drier over the next few days. You can see the upper air temperatures are a good 10 degrees below average in a few spots for a period of time, returning towards average by the weekend to the start of next week, and then above average, a good couple of degrees above average, precipitation increasing. Definitely though, precipitation will be more plentiful in the west, closer to those Atlantic lows, but a very cold pattern coming up in the next couple of days, and then more of a typical autumnal west to southwesterly arriving next week. And if we compare to the latest ECMWF, the midnight run, it's a very similar story, pretty much exactly the same. That's one positive we've actually had recently. The models haven't been in too much disagreement with the overall pattern. Yes, we had some disagreement with Kirk late last week, but majority of models have been fairly consistent, and ensembles have been fairly consistent with the overall trends. It will change eventually as we head towards winter. Whenever we start to see very cold air mixing in, we will see a lot more spread. Sometimes in winter we can see 20 to 30 degree temperature spreads within the ensemble output. Here it's more towards 10 to maybe 15 best, between milder conditions and slightly cooler conditions, but nothing too massive in deviation. But at the moment, pretty easy to model some of these longer term trends, as the models agree pretty well out towards day 7 to day 10. So hopefully that continues, and then we can continue this streak of fairly consistent output. We'll have to see what the rest of October has in store, but very changeable over the next week or so, going from very cold and dry to much milder or even warmer and wetter in from the west. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.